Welcome to the Magical Mommy Monday podcast. I'm Angela Dahlgren here with my co-host Jen Snyder.
Hello.
And we have two very special guests on the show. We have Julie Frost and Mike Dombrow on the Magical Mommy podcast. Hello, you two.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Yes, it's great to be here.
Being here.
Last episode, we talked with my mom about reality TV, which is something we never talk about. So I actually said to Jen, I'm like, great. This is the thing that we're going to talk about when Julie and Mike are here. Is our last episode being about the Real Housewives and rules. They're going to be like, what did we get ourselves into? What did these chicks talk about? But yes, we did talk with my mom about our guilty pleasures. So after you listen to this, if that interests you, just head on over to that episode. We would love any feedback on our social media. We will list that in the show notes. While this show is a passion project for us, we do want to create something that you will love as well. Okay, on to Julie and Mike. If you two could give us a little backstory and tell us what you're about, tell everyone what you're about, that would be great. Julie, can we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am Julie Frost. I am currently a furloughed Disney performer and soon to be unfortunately let go from the company. I just found out last week. So really, really disappointed about that. But I've had a really amazing ride over 9 years that I've been with the Walt Disney Company. My main role is Nemo in Finding Nemo the Musical, and I've done a host of other singing and dancing roles as well. But that was definitely the main gig, was Nemo. And yeah, so that's my story with Disney.
Sorry to hear that too.
Yeah, us too. There are a lot of people were 28,000 to be exact. Were let go. So it's tough times and a difficult year. But I'm myself as well as everyone I know. We're all just really grateful for the time that we've had. It's a really special company.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that doesn't make it any less sad, though. Having all the good memories. But I mean, that's a hard thing. So
yeah, it is.
And just not to interrupt you two doing your intro, just for some background on us, we are very big Disney people. I actually have a Disney podcast I do with my brother. And then Angela used to work for Touring Plans. And we kind of met, because of our love of Disney. So we are big supporters. We love Disney, and we feel our heart goes out to all the cast members. I mean, I really just hope that at some point things bounce back and everyone can get back to doing what they love.
Yeah, we've been following that really closely and have been promoting the cast member pantry, especially on our last episode.
Yeah.
That's an awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think, so many of the furloughed and people that have already been let go, and then those that are still to come, which is a lot over the next couple of months. You all have been so amazing to help promote the things like the pantry and even with us, we wanted to make sure that we used our time, it sounds like school. We used our time wisely, but we used our time, with something that we were passionate about, that still our heart was in the same place it would have been had we been, on property, with guests, with audiences, whatever we were going to be with at that time. We just decided to create something different and still have the same kind of energy and enthusiasm and creativity. And hopefully people are excited for that alternative.
Right.
They're not allowed to vacation in the same way that we've been able to. Yeah.
And Mike, before we talk more about how you and Julie are connected, what is your background?
My background has been very much in the education world. I was a public school choral and musical theater teacher up in the DC area for about 12 years, and worked as a composer and music director for Maryland. It was Imagination Stage. It's a children's theater that has professional adults performing for kids. And then they also have tons of education programs where kids get to perform new musicals and a lot of stuff like that. So I've been kind of surrounded by the performance and, music directing and just kind of getting people excited about music, what really got me going as a kid and hopefully pass it on. And I'm hoping it's as infectious as it was for me. And as that journey took me to, trying to find new challenges of how we can reach kids, how we can, continue to pass that idea of creating is always better than destroying, and music is the perfect place to do that, to really kind of let it all out, and at the same time try to find something new about yourself and a new way to express yourself. So that was a thing for me to be able to help myself, get those energy moments out and a lot of the emotions out, but also to help tell stories. And I think that was the connection with Disney, that they are, the number one storytellers in the world, and they have been for almost 100 years, so it's been unbelievable to have that transition into the company, which is what I did. So my wife and I were able to move down to Florida on just a challenge and a whim. And I had applied for some positions, but had not secured a job while we were moving. So it was an interesting, stressful adventure.
Roll the dice.
Roll the dice. But I was lucky to get on the American Idol Experience team. And that was my first role there. And then was a casting director. So heard a lot of singers, kind of a microcosm of a classroom experience and that audition world. And people of all ages, people on vacation that were like, well, we'll try this out. And then the next thing they know, they're on a tour, which is pretty amazing. So, dreams come true, literally. And then I transitioned into the youth program world, where I was able to teach some workshops and work on kind of some large events and competitions and things like that. So still all in the same genre and intensity in terms of what we love to do as creators and educators, just a different venue, just a different location.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I actually did both of those things that you mentioned. Well, I guess all of them. I was in choir and theater when I was younger, but I actually did the American Idol Experience and the band and the choir workshop when I was in high school. And both of those things, all of those things were just done so well. The American Idol Experience really gave you that taste of, I don't want to say stardom, but it just made you feel special, where you got to do, like, I think I was the one of the times who did like the backstage camera work where they had you film going down commissary lane. It just made you feel really cool and fancy.
Well, you were really cool.
Obviously.
I did sing Walking on Sunshine. I felt
No, I think that's a fantastic song. So yes, I'm proud of that.
Well, they told me when I was singing. They heard the other one, and after like 2 notes, they're like, stop. No, sing your second choice. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess that Carrie Underwood one wasn't a good option.
It's a hard one. I think, the experience of auditioning for them back at that time was a lot of the stadium auditions. So, you could eventually feel special through the process. And our goal was to say, a lot of people, we were not about the silliness of, we want to hear really bad singers. That was not our shtick at Disney. So a lot of those people kind of remove themselves from the process, and you just got people that love music. So a lot of them super talented, a lot of them just had the joy of it. And either way, those are two great things that we wanted to hear. So as we went through the process on a daily basis, you felt that connection, and you're auditioning for someone one-on-one, and you were right there, like 6 feet away. We were social distancing even back then. It was perfect. But the idea that we were connecting on an artistic level, which was great. So even if you got told, sorry, not today, the goal was that you still felt that you had either learned something or felt inspired to go to that next thing. And it might even be like it inspired you to do better on your next job interview. It may have had nothing to do with music, but it was a life skill that you got from doing that, or you did it with your family, or, whatever it was. It was a unique experience. Yes. I don't think Disney has ever done anything like it. And I don't think they will again, because it was such a perfect time at the perfect place and all of that good stuff together. So,
yeah.
Well, and same with those workshops. It's inspiring. It wants you to achieve and do more. And then Julie, you're the person who made it happen. I think I saw that you were a friend of Ariel, and were you in Hoop-Dee-Doo as well?
Yes, Claire de Lune and Hoop-Dee-Doo. That was actually the first show I was cast in at Disney. I was still in college and got cast as Claire. Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome.
So you were the star right from the beginning, very early on. Where did you go to college?
I actually went to the University of Central Florida. They've got a great BFA in musical theater program. And I A lot of my peers had their sights set on New York, but from a pretty young age, I had my sights set on Disney. So I knew that was where I was a good fit for and where I wanted to be. And so I was lucky enough that worked out for me. Yeah, as Mike said, dreams do come true. And I was, lucky enough to live that dream. And it's an interesting thing to go into your first job out of college and, it's your dream job. Cause then it's like, okay, what now?
Right.
When you feel like, okay, that was the goal. Now what? How do you keep setting new goalposts and, continuing to improve and, set your sights on exciting things. So it was an interesting thing to be 22 and wide-eyed and like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I achieved it. And then after a few years realizing like, okay, this is awesome, but I think there's more I can do. And I think I can reach even more kids in other ways. So eventually I moved out to Austin, Texas, where my husband was living, and he's in the tech scene, which is like unfortunately in Orlando, there's just not a lot of tech going on. So we kind of had to pick a city. Austin is great for live music and entertainment and great for my husband's career. So it was a really great city for the both of us. So I came here and started a kids media production company. So I was able to take my experience performing for Disney, kind of take that network of performers and build upon that. And so from there, I started writing shows and songs and all for kids. And I found my sweet spot at Disney, especially. I really realized with Nemo and with Voyage of the Little Mermaid, I love young elementary. For me, that's like this just sweet spot, the age that I really, really connect with. And I also did Disney Junior live on stage. That's a little bit younger. That's more like the preschool age. But all of those younger kiddos I really connect with. And so I started writing my shows and songs specifically for them. And I really love doing the kind of like social emotional learning stuff. So a lot of the material is all about feelings and how do you handle big feelings and let them out in a safe and healthy way. So that's what I've been doing over the past 6 years is I'll fly back and forth to do the Disney shows, but then based out of Austin, building the kids media.
So awesome. I'm just like in awe of both of you, but it's so awesome that you both have this passion and that you're both using your platforms for entertainment, but also for education, and that you're able to reach kids and able to get them in with what you're doing.
Julie and I have similar passions, but we also have different aspects of what those passions are, which is what you want in good storytelling that, or at least the takeaway from storytelling that people can pick up on different things. Yeah. So it's like when you listen to a song, somebody hooks right into be like, ooh, there's lyrics. I love the lyrics. Like my wife she memorizes the lyrics instantaneously. And I'm like, I hear her saying these words and I'm like, what is that from? And then she says the song. I'm like, oh, really? Because I'm only focusing on the music a lot of times where it could be the hook or the chord progression or whatever that really hooks me in. And then with our show, it's, some of the takeaways can be more educational in that form, but it can also be about, again, the character and the silliness and the plot devices and whatever it is. So we just feel like if we can be excited about what we're presenting, we hope that the audience will be in the same way. At least they'll enjoy us enjoying ourselves while we do it, right? That's the worst case scenario. And then the best case is that they want to come along for the ride.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into it then. Okay. Because I listened to a few episodes and Julie, okay, this is technically about the show, but as a singer, I just have to ask, how do you keep your voice in such pristine condition after singing professionally for so long, including international performance experience, which I need to know more about?
So I kind of glossed over. So I moved to Austin. I was approached by, there's an organization that was working with the USO. Are you familiar with that? It's basically the USO. They send out performers to entertain our troops and to basically boost morale, support our troops overseas. But now the USO has expanded over the past 75 years where they're like really supporting the entire family now. So they came to me and said, we know you're a Disney singer and you're I'm actually a military kid. So they're like, we know you're a military kid. Would you be willing to tour around the world and tell military kids your story about how you faced the same challenges they're facing, but you were still able to reach your dreams? So, which I was super excited about. So that's why I started the company in the first place. Cause I was like, okay, I guess I have to start this company. And figure out how to write a show, which I had no background in. I'd only been handed scripts before and performed them. So that's how I got started and did some international touring for the USO, which was very cool. I did that for 3 years. And
That's
because
awesome.
I'm a military kid, that's just really important to me. The military, my dad was military, my grandpa, now my brother is active duty, and his wife. So yeah, that was just extremely meaningful. Yeah. And military kids do face a lot of extra challenges that, I think the military is maybe 1% of the US population. I mean, it's a very, very small amount. And so a lot of people just aren't aware of the challenges they face and how often they have to move and how traumatic that actually can be for kids, especially in those early years of development. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was really, really exciting and important to me at that time. And so that's how I got started in writing the shows. And then I really liked the school tour model. And I was like, oh man, this is, I'm onto something here with getting a sponsor to kind of cover your costs and then say, hey, let's work together. What do you want me to communicate to kids? And I'll be the vehicle to do that. And then I can go and tour at all these schools, reach all these kids. And for a lot of the kids and a lot of the areas I go to, they're low income areas where these kids will never go to Disney, right? So to be able to bring them like a little bit of Disney magic or Disney-esque magic, that type of energy, has been very, very cool. But to your question of taking care of my voice and instrument, it has not always been that way. I am now in my 30s. I look back at my 20s and like, oh my God, what have I done? So I'm glad that I didn't do too much damage that I couldn't recover from. But definitely, quarantine, you're just not going out and doing, or at least we're not going out and really doing much. So my voice is kind of tip-top shape because I'm just not using it very much. But yeah, no, please don't be fooled. I wake up many days sounding like a frog. So I'm glad I fooled you.
No, I listened to you and I'm like, oh my gosh, she sounds like an actual princess.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. I appreciate that. Disney does have a type.
They definitely do. No, I totally got it after I saw kind of your resume and then I listened to you. I 100% got it. I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay.
And then where did your paths meet?
So as I mentioned, I was at one point in the public school system as an educator up in, it was in Virginia at the time, and taught show choir for all the choir friends out there. We had show choir, we had ladies choirs, we had mixed, we had madrigal, we had musical theater classes. Madrigal was kind of also obviously it was a cappella, but it was additional, we weren't just hanging out singing madrigals, that was just kind of the legacy name of the group. So, but yeah, that was kind of our top a cappella group. And we would often go down to the middle schools to do some recruiting. And depending, we needed to do a lot more recruiting for the males in our department because you wanted to have a mixed choir that was actually as balanced as you can be because you tended to have it weighed a little bit heavier on the female side. And because of that, it was a lot more competitive on the female side as well. So we would go to these middle schools to hopefully find some great new voices or at least get them excited about it. And then a lot of times they would just kind of land in the unauditioned group to kind of get their footing, get some experience. And some of it could be as simple as they just haven't done it on a stage before. So, don't look boring while you're singing and we'll work on the other stuff. And then, but we would specifically do the show choir ones over there as well. That would be, you got to show how you dance, you sing, you move, you tell the story, all of that. And came upon a young performer with a lot of pizzazz named Julie Frost. Spoilers. Yeah, so she was a rising frosh that was excited about music and was a woodwind player as well in the band, a really excellent woodwind player. So it was kind of the steal of the century that we were able to borrow her. I say borrow. We straight up stole her from the band department. We did that from a couple departments, which was fantastic, and it made it dangerous to work there. But yeah, so she was one of my students for 4 years, and I think over those 4 years was in 11 different choirs, or had 11 credits, however you want to look at it. So we just kind of kept in touch, and we did the school trips down to Florida, as we talked about with the workshops and stuff. So we went down and did a competition. A couple of years, we did also the Candlelight Processional. And I don't remember which trip it was, but that was kind of our post 9/11. What can we do with the top group? Because we couldn't go to Europe. Our county had kind of banned it at the time.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that became this really cool professional, throw you in there and you better know your music because it's showtime. And it was awesome. And while we were on one of those trips, we did come across the Finding Nemo show had just kind of come about, whatever year that was. And as you know, as your juniors and seniors are trying to find what, vocal parts are out there, as you can hear in my voice, being the strong tenor lead was never in the cards for me. So you had to figure out, okay, what parts will work for me and how can I expand my own range character-wise and vocally. But anyway, we found the show that the lead role was like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? So we were able to get Julie and the group she was with to go see it. And it was one of those things that was kind of just everybody has had those moments where you get exposed to something new or whatever it is, and that can change the trajectory. So obviously, the rest is history with Julie, that she did get that part. But I think that being able to see someone be inspired to move to that. And we've had students that have been inspired to move to all different kinds, working for the State Department or, teaching private lessons, whatever they were, anything that they do that they love it. That's what you get inspired to see. And that's what you want the kids of the world to see as well. That yes, if you work hard and you are excited about it, you can make a career out of it. You can make it a side passion, whatever you want to make out of it, you can do. So that was kind of the push for me to take that leaping point to be like, okay, well, I've had a couple students do some great stuff down in Florida, so let's see what we can do. And we just kept connected through the whole time. So we did have a little bit of crossover that Julie uncovered a photo this last week that was us both showing our blue IDs, which was, kind of a magical moment that made me feel old, but it was cool. Cool to see. And then we kept connected with Julie's shows. So as she was doing these things, I would get to hear about it and help out when I could and when she needed it. And we just kind of, I guess, kept the storytelling going in different ways.
Yeah. And if I'll just jump in really quick, because I feel like it's important to note that I know a lot of people have a story of one educator really changing the course of their life. And that definitely was Mike for me. So he was just this young, super energetic educator. At the middle school, we knew about this high school teacher. Everyone knew who he was. You wanted to be in his classes. He was he just got you excited about music and he made it cool and accessible for everyone. And so I would take summer school classes to open up. I would take literally as many classes as I could in his classroom. So at my senior year, 4 of my 7 classes were with him. So he was just really an outstanding educator and continues to be in, just a different way now, not in a classroom setting, but in all of the roles he's had, he's just a really impactful educator. And so when I really truly had no idea what I was doing when they were like, hey, write this show for military kids. So he's just been a lifelong mentor. And whenever I had these opportunities pop up, I would just be like, hey, Mike, don't know what I'm doing. Can I run this by you? And so he's really helped to continue to foster that learning throughout the year. I mean, well over 15 years now, which has been very, very cool. And then as I started this business and started getting projects, funded in whatever ways, I'd be like, oh, can I hire you to do this project with me? Which was so cool. What a funny dynamic, but what a cool thing. And so he, came on board for, maybe it was just a little video here that he would do score for, or a song here, or projects that weren't funded. I'd be like, hey, I'm writing an album and I've never written a song before. Don't know what I'm doing. Want to look at these lyrics? And so he's just been really great about, whatever I'm doing and throw his way. He's been really great about coming on board in whatever capacity he's able. And then, so we had just been working on an audio project together this spring. So we were in the world of audio, and COVID was starting to happen. We weren't sure what was going to happen. We weren't sure what the duration of this furlough was going to be, but we had just been working together. We had also toyed around with the idea of, hey, wouldn't it be so cool to do a kids podcast together? We'd done, these animations and these live musicals, But something was really cool about the idea of just doing audio where you really just focus on the story and the characters and the sound and making it such a beautiful, immersive experience, but with no screen time. And something about that was just very, very cool to us. So we dove in and started creating this. We didn't know that it was going to be the super secret Hive at first. At first it was just the Hive, and we weren't sure what it was going to be. We redid that first episode several times to kind of land on this is the humor. These are our characters. It was a lot of trial and error. And again, we just had no idea what this timeline was going to be. So it was like, oh, do we have a month to work on this? Oh, we have 2 months. Oh, we're hitting that 6-month mark. So eventually we kind of had to say, all right, what number of episodes are we going to land on? Let's figure out what we can send out into the universe and see if the universe likes it, because we really, truly had no idea. We had friends and family that were listening to these episodes, but it's tough because it's tough to get really critical feedback because everyone wants to support you. And so they're giving you all this good feedback. And so we're thinking, oh, maybe we're really great. Or maybe our family is just being kind, right? Yeah. We had no idea until we put it out in the universe. So we finished the 6 full-length episodes and 14 songs. So it'll be an album that's released in early 2021. But that's what we started with this season. We don't know where it's going yet. Who knows? But it's been a really fun project for us to work on over this difficult and challenging time of furlough, and with everything going on in the world, we thought, why not bring some sunshine? I
was going to say, it's really about positivity, right? There's a lot of overwhelming things that we can all be thinking about right now, which at sometimes in our lives we have to think about those things. So this was one of those things that we know there are ways that we can all make a difference, and we know that kids of all ages can be young adults down to the preschool. Everybody can do a little something that you'll feel great about, and you'll have done something great for yourself, for your family, for the world, whatever it might be, and not be just so negative with what you could do with some of these issues, right? Mm-hmm. So even the first episode that is about honeybees are awesome, right? You learn so much great stuff about these honeybees. And then if you want to talk about what's going on with honeybees in the world, there's some not awesome things that are happening, but there are so many great things that are happening because people and kids have taken the reins and said, no, this is the world we live in. The honeybee continues to be this awesome provider of this, that, and the other. And we truly cannot live without them. So what are we going to do to make this happen? So we've been inspired by other people and other organizations that have done such great stuff. Some of them have been nonprofits. Some of them have been these big corporations that just do have arms of their companies that have passions. And that was the gig. So yeah, as Julie said, we didn't exactly know where we were going to go until we kind of got in there. And then it was a matter of, okay, what are these kids saying back to us? And as we did a couple tests on some families that had kids that, if we saw them zone out or we saw them start to dance, ooh, okay. And you take notes and you kind of get better, as opposed to if you're writing a full length musical, which, this has the same number of songs as one of those things, but usually have years to kind of work on this stuff. So it was really kind of rough and dirty to kind of get through all of these things. And plus it's just the two of us. So that was another challenge to say, what can we do? But that's the theme of the show, right? That you can make a difference. So, okay, we got 2 people. We could do this. We're going to have some difficult challenges along the way for sure. But it's worth it. It's worth it.
Well, yeah. And with kids, I was a preschool teacher and worked with kids for quite a few years. Their attention span, 2-year-old, 15 minutes, 3-year-olds, not much longer. And depending on their age, it's very hard to get them to concentrate, especially in a world where they're watching TV and doing iPads. And what I love is, when I was little, I would go to bed and listen to stories on tape before bed. Mm-hmm. And it was just enough that it would kind of be boring, get me to fall asleep. But these podcast episodes are so engaging and so interesting. And it's almost like there's a TV in the room, but it's all audio. And I was listening to the Bumblebee one, the first episode, with my daughter, who is afraid of bees, like terrified of bees, where she wants to run away. And I told her, well, are you listening to this? The song says that you need to stay still. And I think you said like maybe count to 10 or just don't move. And she's like, well, no, I want to run away. And I said, but listen to the song. Cause you kind of, in the song you address like what to do if there's a bee around you and how it's okay. The bee's not going to hurt you. They're just trying to see if you have nectar. And it's kids are afraid of bees, but honeybees are good for the environment. And you cover topics like conservation and health. I think Mike was sick in one of the episodes, and you do it in a really interesting and engaging way that even parents like me are like, oh, I want to listen to the next one.
Well, it's interesting that the honeybee, the being still around a honeybee, we've gotten more feedback about the parents going, oh, I learned something. It was more, or the kid sells out the parent and says, yeah, my dad swats a little too much and he now knows that he needs to cut it out. But it was so important to us that that it's engaging for everybody, because, the podcast, I'm a podcast junkie. I love it. I've got all different kinds. So whether it's like, I love the kind that you all do, where you're talking and getting in depth with things that you love and you want to get people excited about. And then I have some that are strictly the stories. They are, they're like that old radio drama. But like any good story, if I had someone that grew, my niece loved Barney growing up, right? She loved Barney. There's not a lot of levels to Barney. Barney was great, message perfect. Not a lot of levels.
Yeah.
So when you say, I love you, you love me, what do you really say? No, that's what he means. He just means I love you. So it's pretty straightforward.
It ain't that deep.
It's not deep. But even like, even Sesame Street these days, I don't know if your kids watch that. Mm-hmm. Obviously great role models, great role puppet models, and the adults too, but they're doing parodies. They're doing references that only, they're doing references to shows on HBO that we can't even talk about, that, that they did, but it was to teach about whatever lesson they were doing. So that's the kind of stuff we love to have, that if obviously we don't want to annoy anybody listening, right? A lot of children's entertainment can kind of cross the line that like, I have a headache, I don't want to listen to that. So it was really important that we gave something that we hoped everybody could grab onto something. And hopefully, I think Julie did all of the sound design. So it was really to make you feel like you're there. And so the idea that you felt like you were reading you were watching a screen, that's what reading a book is all about, right? You create the world in your mind, which you did without even thinking about it, which is so cool.
I had put the episode on. My son is 6. My daughter is almost 4. So I had just my 6-year-old in the car, and I just put on the first episode, but I didn't tell him what I was doing. We normally listen to the Hamilton soundtrack, but so I put it on, and he's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, just listen to it a little bit." And then after a while, he was like, "Can I see this? What is this?" And I was like, "No, it's a podcast." He's like, "It's a podcast?" And then he's listening more, and he's like, "Can we watch this when we get home?" I'm like, "Nope, it's just to listen to." But he was also, you can tell that his imagination started going, and he started talking about different parts of the story, and he was reiterating back to me, and he was like, "Why do you think this happened?" "I think it's because of the," and he was just going with it, which was so awesome. And I mean, when I'm driving, I love to listen to podcasts when my kids are either sleeping in the car or I'm alone in the car. So, but to have this as another option now where they can listen to their podcast and the story and get more involved and be getting something from it. I mean, he was so excited. He was like, he wanted to tell his sister as soon as he got home. And I read him the titles of the episode. So the second one, we listened to the first one. The second one he picked was Look at Me. Sandra T. Rex, which I, got a big kick out of. He probably didn't get as much of a kick out of the parts I got a kick out of, but, and it's so fun, and it was so engaging, and it's true. It's giving them something that we kind of had as kids growing up that you don't see as much anymore. I mean, I was a big Mickey Mouse Club of the 90s fan. So I was a big, Fred Newman fan, where he always did the sound effects. And I think there was an episode about sound effects, and listening to this reminded me of those times where I feel like, I don't know if kids pick up on sound effects as much anymore because there's just so much going on with what they're watching. And this brought me back to that. And I loved it, but he loved it, and he's excited for more episodes to listen to. He's like, what are the other titles? And he's trying to play out which ones we're going to listen to next.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's one of those things that you again, you never know until you have somebody listen to it, right? So no one goes out to make garbage, right, and trash for the most part, right? Yeah. You open a show on, you guys listen to Hamilton. Lin-Manuel was not like, I hope this is just okay. You put everything you can.
This will do. Yeah,
exactly. But I think the idea that they don't know, it's interesting that where podcasts kind of went backwards in time in terms of technology, that people used to sit around the radio as a family to listen to the Batman, the superhero Green Hornet, things like that, and it's just something that's we're a society that doesn't like to be bored, which is difficult. I know it's difficult for parents and difficult for kids, but being bored was part of my childhood that I had to just get with it. But that's where a lot of my creativity came out. So, whatever action figures I had or whatever, if I with piano and just creating stuff out of, it's like getting a coloring sheet at the restaurant, right? Yeah. That's going to be more engaging for your brain than just staring at the screen. So for this, we wanted it to be something that it's not literally interactive while you listen to it, but we want it to feel like it is. We want you to feel like you've been transported.
Yeah. And I love how the characters are voiced by you two. And I love that you use real kids in the episodes as well. Where do you find these children? I did see some information on the website, but did you know them for the early episodes?
So the only kids that are in the episodes are at the very beginning and the very end. So if you hear any children voices throughout the episode, that's actually Mike and I. So at the very beginning we have kids, and at the very end, the intro and outro are real kids, and they are children of Disney performers. So yes, their parents are professional voiceover actors, and so they had because it was during the pandemic, and we're like, normally we would put out we put out audition postings online, and kids they submit themselves, and then we would bring them to a studio here in Austin to record. But during the pandemic, none of that. You mean
being in the same room?
Yeah.
You can do that.
So that was not an option.
That was not an option. And we had hoped to be together for all of the recording, to be honest. I mean, because we had done some studio stuff for one of our other projects, and it's just, you make changes on the fly. Yeah. The fly became 1,000-mile difference, and awesome delay on the video chat, whatever it is. Yeah. So but I think we wanted even more involvement with the kids. It became, COVID possible. Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer your question, they are kids of actors. And so they had the mic setups at their houses. So they were able to record for us, which was cool.
Oh my gosh. And you're just the different voices you can do, Julie, and how well you can articulate, which is not always easy depending on what you're singing or what you do. What you're doing is so impressive to me. I was just listening in awe. So I had to point that out. But you also have another podcast is this under the Kids Save the World umbrella?
Yes. So yes, we do. So when we decided we wanted to put out the super secret Hive, we thought we should probably do a trial run. We should probably figure out this podcasting world, because it's a lot more complex than obviously, but we were like, I was like, there are a lot of things we should try to iron out before we put, 6 months of work out in the universe and maybe have some hiccups. So we wanted to figure out those hiccups and kinks and iron them out before. So that first Julie Frost Kids podcast was truly like a trial run. We were like, hey, let's put this together. Let's put it out in the universe and just see how it works and kind of try to understand just the whole podcasting platform. So that's what that was. I mean, it was based on my first album that already existed. So we already had the song. So we thought, hey, let's come up with a cool, really quick episode where we kind of communicate, why did I write that song? And so I did a quick little script. Mike did all the scoring. And then so he did all the scoring under it and would lead into the song. So it was a very, it was a lot less work than the Super Secret Hive. But that podcast was a fun little,
and those songs are, your USO tour pulled from a lot of those talking points and So you can kind of connect parts of that story as well. And I think, it was also a way for us to do some basic scoring on my part. It was very simple stuff into her song. So it would be like, okay, what key is your song going to be? Okay, good. And kind of figure out how to get into that and not make it feel like I'm in the way because the song for each one of those episodes is the more important part. Yeah.
So that was kind of the test vehicle for the Super Secret Hive. And now the Super Secret Hive just has kind of gone off and has 6 episodes now. Would you consider that season 1 then?
Yes, that is our season 1. Yep.
Okay. And then you have a website for it as well.
Yep. So there are accompanying resources and activities online, totally free for families and teachers, whoever wants to use them. So we encourage people to go to hereatthehive.com if they're interested in checking those out. There are a ton of printable activities that actually Mike came up with that are awesome. So you can just click on those, print them right out. There are coloring sheets and mazes and word searches and just all sorts of fun things to help keep kids busy. But if they need something to keep their hands busy while they're listening, or if they want to continue the learning after the episode is over, it's great for that. And then also there's a bunch of additional information on there. So let's say they were really excited about comets. If they go to there's a blog post for each episode. If they go to the blog post about comets, then they can see even more cool stuff that we wanted to nerd out about, but time didn't allow us to include all of that in the episode. So that's what those blog posts are for.
Who had the idea for the videos?
You mean like the dinosaur video?
Yeah, there's some videos on your website.
There are definitely videos that we have done for prior projects. So that's what those are for. Yeah. But you can check out other things that we've worked on. On our website, there's a videos page, and you can definitely check out some of the other things we've worked on. So those are music. That's a whole host of other things, but music videos. We've done an anti-bullying tour here in Texas. There's a really large grocery company that's awesome. It's called HEB, and they sponsored a 3-year anti-bullying tour.
Wow.
And so a lot of the animations you'll see on there were for that anti-bullying tour. It's a bilingual tour. There are a lot of course, Spanish speakers here in Texas. So we incorporate a lot of Spanish in that show. So that was a lot of fun as well. So that page has just videos from all sorts of different projects we've worked on.
So videos, blog posts, coloring pages.
I was just going to say how great it is to have as many resources as possible, I think right now, as more kids are doing distance learning or homeschooling. Just any kind of resource is good at this point. And I love that this is just another option for that. So Angela and I are homeschooling our youngest ones, and then our oldest ones are distance learning. So we're home with them. So yes, activities are great.
Yes,
yeah.
for sure.
And these, they require some sort of computer device to get them, but you can print them out. You can save them on your, whatever, so that if you have kids that have to be on the computer for their virtual, this can be off the side. And, a lot of it, like Julie said, is to connect, if they're passionate about what we talked about. So if it's about, our Comet episode also deals with loneliness, and making sure you stay in touch with people that maybe need, someone to say hello, someone to just tell a fun story to, play a game with, whatever it is. So one of our activities is about kind of how can you connect with some of these people and kind of set a plan for yourself so that these kids, as they're become members of the Hive, you got to plan out your mission, you got to plan it, and then you got to execute the mission. So,
Yeah.
And these are topics that you both think of and then create together.
Yeah. We definitely discuss it. We've had a couple ideas. We've had a couple ideas that did not make the cut this round. And then also talking about, when we definitely want to do something with dinosaurs, but what are the other spins on the tail? So yes, there's some humor, musical related humor that's in there as well, but also what's the deeper cut on the story. So, right. Does that sound right, Julie?
Yeah. I would say we got into a rhythm towards the end of the 6 months where, Mondays we brainstorm, Tuesdays we script write and all these things, and we had wanted to that from the very beginning, but you have to give yourself time to get in that groove. For sure. But yeah, we would definitely have like a brainstorming day for each episode where we just kind of throw out different ideas to one another. And then we would go and do a bunch of research, and then we would come back together a couple hours later, share our research. And from there, we usually would find 1 or 2 cool nuggets of information. We're like, oh, that's cool. Like the Neowise comet. We're searching outer space. And I think Mike found the Neowise comet. Cool. Let's talk about the Neowise comet. We were doing, the marine litter episode about, under the sea, we're looking up all these different species that are affected by plastic in the ocean. We somehow came across the bowhead whale, which is the jazz musician. Oh, cool. Maybe they're in a jazz club. So Yeah, we definitely would start with a brainstorm day. We start with a million ideas and then kind of narrow it down. And then Mike was always really great about coming up with kind of like, okay, what if, the bumblebees, what if they're at a football game? And what if, this is how we communicate, how working as a team and all of the different players are playing the different roles. And then I would always try to slip in the, well, what if we talked about feelings and, the social emotional learning things too. So maybe the comet's lonely because between the two of us, it was really good to kind of bounce these ideas off of each other back and forth. And I think between the two of us, because Mike he's so good at the comedy and he's so good at coming up with these creative scenes. And then I feel like with my experience with the social emotional learning side of it together, it marries to make a pretty in my opinion, a pretty well-rounded episode, which was important to us, that we weren't just trying to save the planet, or we weren't just talking about feelings. We wanted to be all encompassing. We want to learn how to really just take care of ourselves, each other, and in this place that we live in. So we tried to achieve that, and hopefully we
can do it.
Yeah, hopefully kids get that takeaway. So,
and I think the topics are accessible. We're not picking topics that are so obscure that it's not going to hit a larger audience, but it's also something that there are things about it that hopefully you will not have known. So for us, the Neowise Comet, like I legit missed it, and it was this summer. So like I had time to see it and I didn't see it. So I was bummed out, and that became a plot line that like literally the character Mike is bummed out that he didn't see it. Right. And then I was, what was I doing and why couldn't I see it? And we tried to figure out, we kind of evolved that into the storyline. But even with bees, even with the plastic, everybody is aware of, recycling programs, and everybody has seen trash. Everybody has seen warning signs on the side of the road that say you get fined if you throw away stuff incorrectly. So we didn't want to be confrontational about the issues. We wanted to be like, okay, here's what's going on. It's legit happening. So what can we do? And again, not make it a scary topic, but make it something that, you may not have known. Like I take the straw thing, when straws started to disappear at restaurants, at least in Florida, at first I'm like, but I like a straw, like don't take away my toy.
I don't like the paper one.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The paper one dissolves in my smoothie. Yes. So, but so as we research this, you obviously find out the how detrimental these plastic things are, and that, okay, well, maybe are there alternatives? And some plastic is great. Some plastic is around forever and we need it to be around forever. And then some plastic we only use once and it's gone. So talking about it on the simple terms of that, and then like on a blog post talking about like, well, we discovered, a lot of people have found metal straws or bamboo straws. We even found ones made out of grass. So they're disposable. You use them once. So if you don't want to get into the cleaning of a straw, you can still have that experience, but it's, so it's creativity that is hopefully going to inspire the next thinkers to get us out of some of these binds that we're in a fun way.
I just have so much respect for you two, and just creatives who can produce this kind of content in an entertaining way, or produce just creative people in general, because the fact that your minds can work this way to just, I don't know, it's just so inspiring. And it makes me wish that my brain could work in the same way. Right. But in the meantime, I'm just going to respect the heck out of both of you. And as far as how the two of you met, and, there being kids out there who aren't good at, the STEM stuff. I'm talking about myself right now, who aren't good at the STEM stuff, who aren't great. They're just kind of average in school, but they have the arts there. They have theater, or maybe the shy kid, but they're really good at band, having the arts.
For some people, the arts are the reason, or you can take sports, there's all these different elements that are not necessarily a required part of school.
Yeah.
That keeps them engaged, gets them out of bed. And that's all you need. That's the catalyst to get the brain engaged in some way. And then hopefully, in music and sports, of course, both of those fields, you learn cooperation, you learn conflict, you learn winning and losing, you learn,
discipline,
teamwork. Right. So when somebody doesn't show up for practice, or someone doesn't show up for rehearsal, the team's not as strong. Right. So you learn very quickly to rely on each other and learn trust and all of those things. So Yeah, I feel like the arts specifically, especially something like theater, right? You get everybody in there. You need to have the architects. You need to have people that know math to do the set design. You need physics majors to do the sound correctly. You need just writers to do all these things. So unfortunately and unfortunately, it was the two of us to try to do all of these things. But really, it's a collaborative thing that it's just more fun with more people. Yeah.
But I think also what can get kids motivated to go to school are good teachers. And Mike, I think it speaks volumes for you both to be here. But it's amazing that you were that teacher. You were the teacher everyone wanted to be in your class, and everyone wanted to hear you teach and experience your classroom. Julie experienced that class and completely followed her dream. And now you're both back together again, and you're creating this amazing content for kids now. And you're kind of paying it forward, Julie, on your side for what you learned from Mike, plus your own background and all of your experiences. It's amazing what you two have created. So kudos to you as a teacher, because a bad teacher can make you not want to go to school, and a good teacher can stick with you and really just keep you going and keep that dream alive and keep pushing you, which is so important.
Well, I'll be the first to say that, some students connect with you and some don't. And that's part of the journey. And it's like a piece of art. Some people like your art and some people don't. So, but you go back on what you had experienced as a kid, or what scenario you were built into. I remember just at the high school, when I got the gig, it was in the last 4 years, they had 3 different choral directors. Mm-hmm. So for me, I knew right then, okay, I have to stay at least X number of years, because I did like to jump around, but that's not cool. I had less chaotic, because I had the same teacher for those 4 years when I was a singer, or in theater or whatever it was. But again, you think of all the teachers that you had, and you may have learned concepts from this one. You might have learned citizenship skills from this one. You may have learned character things from this one, whatever it is. And then that's who you are, right? It's like a resume. Everybody's kind of put a little bit of their fingerprint onto you, and then you take it to the next level, which Julie obviously has done with all of her performance career, and working with kids, and being true to who she is and her passion. And if we could all do that's the goal, right? If we could all be honest and upfront and try to find ways to improve, because nobody's perfect, right? So that was part of the goal with this too, to say, there are so many great people creating content, but what can we do? What's our legacy going to be when our story is done? Have we left anything that's going to be worthwhile? And so, who knows? That's the question that we'll never know. But we could say, at least, we've gotten some feedback from kids, and that's the thing. You want to at least reach one kid in a way that I had a friend email me some videos of him talking about his favorite parts and dancing to the songs. And and the moment Monday hits, he said by 7 a.m. he had already listened to the episode, and I'm like, that is dedication. And that's a kid that's passionate about his stuff, and it's like, that's why you do it.
Yeah. Well, and on that note, what is the future? What does future look like for Kids Save the World, the Super Secret Hive? I heard an album was mentioned for next year.
Yeah. Yep. So the 14 songs from season 1 will be released in album form in early 2021. So be on the lookout for that, which we're very excited about. And Mike wrote all of those songs. So kudos to him. He's really talented. And if you haven't heard the final episodes of the season yet, I would encourage you to listen, because at least for me, my favorite songs, I feel like we just really got better and better as time went on. And so, I love the songs towards the end. So,
And there's a journey. There's a journey from episode 1. Obviously, we need to find out, what is this hive and how do we get there, and what's the purpose, and then by the end of it, we do, if this is the full story of this moment, we wanted to make sure it wasn't a cliffhanger that's like bums anybody out, but it's truly, the story can go on, but the story can go on with us. The story could go on with the people listening. The story could go on, with anybody who has that drive to do something. And I think it was the songs are part of it. I grew up on Schoolhouse Rock and obviously listening to cast albums of whatever shows that we loved. And I was used to not seeing stuff, right? So I was used to listening to albums that I even think back to like Evita. It was an album first, right? So they didn't even have a show. They were like, let's write the music and then maybe we'll get a show. And of course, obviously that show did pretty well, but the idea of experiencing a story through the music and through the voices of people that you hopefully will get to know and get to like, that was our thing. So we've heard about the songs. People wanted to hear the songs more than, so right now they're having to re-listen to the episodes to hear the songs again, which is fine because you can skip around on podcasts. But we wanted to make it a little easier for them and kind of give them a nicely wrapped gift of the season.
Yeah. So we're not sure about the continuation of the podcast at this point. We've kind of put it out in the universe. We're seeing where it lands, and we aren't sure is the answer, but we want to hear from people. So if they love it, we hope everyone will help spread the word. Leave us, reviews, send us feedback. If you love certain characters or certain parts, we want to hear that.
If you built a garden for the honeybees, we want to see it.
Yeah.
Even if you just drew a picture of it because you have a plan and you don't have a backyard to do it, like whatever, share it with us. And then tell us something, that you found out that maybe we didn't know either that we could share with the world. I think some of the people that we're connected with on social media are some of these organizations that are doing great work all the time. So when we see something super cool, we're going to share that with the world as well, so that the conversation continues, that we're truly being social with our media. But I think we thought we'd try one episode and see what happens, and then it can't turn into 6. So you never know, and we were totally excited to get to that point to be able to share it, and are super proud of it. And now it's just, it's the universe that needs to make the decision now.
Well, I vote for more, so that's just me. Yeah.
We actually planted a bunch of wildflowers for the honeybees, but I live in Minnesota, so it's I don't have any good picks now.
That's awesome.
I will not be tagging those until next year. Do you think that you could leave your social media for anyone who wants to follow and listen to the Super Secret Hive and Kids Save the World?
Yeah, absolutely. So Instagram is kid.savetheworld. So just at kid.savetheworld. And then Facebook, it's just Kids Save the World. And then Mike, what is the Twitter? Just Kids Save the World?
Kids Save the World. Yep. / Kids Save the World. Yep. And then here at thehive.com is if no one is getting into the downloading of the podcast apps, you can still listen fully on there. We do recommend, because it is an oral experience, that if you have, a system that you can play it on, playing it out of your phone is totally fine if that's what you need to do. But if you have any speakers or headphones that you can kind of really get into the spatial awareness of where these things are and how things change from venue to venue, we think that's super exciting to do. But you can do that on the computer or any of the major podcast apps.
Yeah,
we're all about one kid can make a difference. So we wanted the solitary. Of course, if you've got kids, a bigger difference will be had, right?
Yeah, we really wanted to empower the individual. So each and every kid can make a difference in our eyes.
I love that. And that's why your focus is all about positivity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Julie and Mike, for being on the show. It was so great getting to know you and hearing all about, everything that you're pursuing right now. It sounds so exciting, although I'm sad it's under, the furloughed circumstances, but you're doing amazing things right now.
Well, thank you so much for having us. And we were blessed with, cursed and blessed with this time. And we're just so happy to be able to share it with you and your listeners.
Yeah. Thanks again for having us. Really appreciate it.
Of course. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to give us a review on iTunes if you'd like. You can find us on Twitter at Magic Mom Monday, Instagram at Magical Mommy Monday, or you can email us at magicalmommymondays@gmail.com. I hope you're having a great day, night, whatever you're doing, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.